Hey gang, using the promo code MTGMudsta, one word, all caps, will get you 10% off orders of $10 or more at Flipside Gaming, Original Magic Art, and orders of singles at Multizone. If they don't have what you're looking for, you could check out TCG Player and use my affiliate link to help support the channel. Looking for a way to bling out your deck and not spend a fortune? Alter Sleaze can help with that, and you can help with the channel at the same time by using my affiliate link. Or, if you're looking to join the Goblin Gang, you can always support me through Patreon. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game has more of those dashing Danes, with Mads, Adam, and Jesper all joining me. I once again forget to record opening hands, so let's just get right into the game. Mads wins the die roll and starts us off. He plays a Wooded Foothills, passing. Adam plays a Savannah, and Mads decides to sacrifice the foothills to go and find a land. Jesper plays a tapped Oran Reef. I play a Snow-Covered Mountain, tapping it for 1 for a Skirk Prospector. At this point, Mads has found his tropical island, and then starts his turn after shuffling. He draws and plays a Waterlogged Grove. He takes 1 from it as he taps both of his lands for rampant growth, passing while searching. Adam plays a Command Tower and passes. Jesper plays a mountain and casts Soul Ring. He then taps 3 for a Lifecrafter's Bestiary and passes. I play a Snow-Covered Mountain and tap 2 red for a Warren Instigator, and I swing my Skirk Prospector at Mads, dealing 1. Mads casts a Nature's Lore, continuing a ramp, and he goes to find a forest card. He's going to grab a Breeding Pool and takes 2 so it comes in untapped. He then pays 2 mana for a Collector's Oof, taking another 1 from his Waterlogged Grove, and passes. Adam plays a Painland himself, Mana Confluence, and takes 1 as he taps it to cast Wood Elves. It enters, and he passes while searching for a forest card. Jesper scries 1 and keeps it there. He draws it, and then plays a Mountain Valley, which comes in tapped, and passes. I play another Snow-Covered Mountain, and then pay 2. This time it's for Metallic Mimic, which comes in, and I name Goblins. I go to combat, and swing the Instigator at Jesper. He takes 1 from the Double Strike first, which lets me put out a Legion War Boss for the Instigator trigger, and then another 1, but I don't have a second Goblin to put out. The War Boss does come in with a +1/+1 counter from the Mimic though, and I pass to Mads. Mads puts out a compelling argument to attack someone else as he casts Propaganda and passes. Adam draws and taps 4 to cast Smothering Tithe. He then sacrifices 2 lands as he plays out a tapped Lotus Field and passes. Jesper scries 1 and draws it, playing out Exotic Orchard. He lets Adam have his treasure, since the oof is kinda shutting them down, and he then sacrifices the Mountain Valley to find a land. It's Savannah as well, and he's able to cast his commander, Atla Palani, passing. I draw, and let Adam get that treasure. I played a Tectonic Reformation, and then play another Snow-Covered Mountain. Moving to combat, I create a Goblin token with my War Boss, which enters and gets a +1/+1 counter from my Mimic, paying the 2 to swing the token at Mads since it has to attack. He doesn't block, taking 2, and I pass. Mads draws, and Adam gets a treasure. He then plays out a Lotus Cobra, but sadly has no follow-up land, and passes. Adam draws for turn, and casts Golos in his main phase. He goes to find a land from his library as the Super Solemn enters, and puts out a Thespian Stage. He then plays a Plains, and shuffles, passing. Jesper scries 1 with the Bestiary, and bottoms it. He then draws for turn, plays a High Market, and passes. My turn has me drawing and casting a Goblin Recruiter. Mads takes 1 from the Grove as he casts an Impulse, and once priority gets to him, Jesper responds as well. He casts a Dromoka's Command, picking the mode to have Atla fight the Collector Oof, and also make Adam sacrifice an enchantment. These effects happen, and then the Impulse resolves with Mad keeping 1 of his top 4. I then get to resolve my Recruiter, and tutor for some of my Goblins to put on top of my library. I grab a Goblin Matron, Goblin Crater Maker, Goblin War Chief, Goblin Ringleader, and Siege Gang Commander, put them on top of my library, with the Ringleader going on top. I go to combat, and make another Goblin token that also gets a +1/+1 counter as it enters. I have to swing this new token, and I swing both tokens at Adam, and the Instigator at Jesper. Adam blocks each of the tokens, using the Wood Elves to chump 1 and Golos to take out the other. Jesper also decides to block, but makes an egg token first with Atla and then blocks with it. Before moving to damage, I sacrifice the Instigator to the Skirk Prospector to deny Jesper the wheel spin for a creature he'd get if the egg died. I use the 1 red floating still to cycle Ghost Quarter with my Tectonic Reformation before moving phases. I then pass. Mads plays a Reflecting Pool, making a blue from his Cobra. He then taps some lands to pay for a Time Warp and takes an extra turn. Mads moves to his extra turn, playing an island and getting a mana from the Cobra. He then taps enough for a Tatyova and passes to Adam. Adam tries to convince Mads that letting him cast an Ugin would be good for the table, but Mads isn't buying it. Undeterred, Adam still puts the Planeswalker to the stack, and Jesper gains priority as we go around the table first, and uses an Enlightened Tutor to go and find an enchantment or an artifact to put on top of his library. He reveals a Blightsteel Colossus, putting it on top, and then activates his High Market to sacrifice the egg token, gaining 1 life, and then gets an Atla Palani trigger. Since we know what's on top, he puts to field the Colossus to no one's surprise. Ugin then resolves, and Adam downticks the Walker by 4. This exiles all colored permanents of 4 or less, and Adam then plays a land for turn, a Dark Depths, and able to now use his treasure tokens, activates the Thespian Stage and Dark Depths combo, where he makes it into a legendary land. He then has to sacrifice one of them, binning the original. The Thespian Stage copy then sees that it has no ice counters on itself, and sacrifices itself to make a 2020 Merit Lage token. He then passes to Jesper. Jesper scries 1 from the Bestiary and draws. He casts Farseek in his main phase, and goes to find a tap plains. He then swings the Blightsteel at Mads, and Mads is forced to block with Tatyova, and Jesper tries to cast Mutagenic Growth, paying 2 life to cast the spell instead of mana. But Mads is ready, and negates it, losing 1 from his Grove. He then takes 8 poison damage, and Jesper passes to me. I draw, and tap out for a Goblin Ringleader. It comes in, and gains a +1/+1 counter, and I then reveal my top 4 cards, putting all those goblins I'd put there earlier into my hand, and I pass to Mads. Mads taps 1 for a Wild Growth, casting it onto a land, and passes to Adam. Adam draws for turn and plays a Verdant Catacombs. He sacrifices it, taking 1 to go and find a land. He grabs Badlands and puts it to field. He then upticks Ugin, dealing 3 to Jesper. Moving to combat, the Merit Lage also goes at Jesper. Before damage though, Jesper taps enough for Divergent Transformations, targeting my Mimic and the Lage token. Mads decides to get some revenge and counters it. Jesper then takes 20. In his post-combat main phase, Adam then uses Golos' ability and hits 3 1-drops, 2 of which are Mana Dorks and 1 is land tax. He casts all 3 and passes. Jesper scries 1 on his turn, and then in his main phase, recasts Atla Palani. He pays the 1 green to the Bestiary as he casts her to draw a card. Heading to combat, the Blightsteel goes at Adam. Adam chumps with his Golos, but still takes some Trample over Infect. My turn has me casting a Goblin Warchief, which gets a counter as it comes in. I then play a Goblin Cratermaker, who also gets a counter. I move to combat, swinging everything at Jesper, who drops to 6, and I pass to Mads. Mads casts a Soul Ring in his main phase, and then brings back his commander before passing to Adam. Adam gets his land tax trigger on his upkeep, finding some basics for hand. He then plays a forest for turn, and goes to combat. Jesper pleads for his life, but Adam knows what happens when you make a deal with the devil, and with no way to protect himself, Jesper gets knocked out. Adam then casts a Grim Monolith and taps enough for a Void Winnower. He then downticks Ugin once more for 5, exiling most of the permanents. I play Castle Embereth and cast a Hordling Outburst. I make 3 tokens, all of which come in with a +1/+1 counter from the Mimic, and I pass. Mads plays a Ramunap Excavator for turn, and then replays his Wooded Foothills, and passes. Adam also plays a Foothills for turn, and both he and Mads synchronize their sacrifices, each losing 1 to go and find a land. Mads also gets a forest, while Adam finds a plateau. Adam then decides to swing the Winnower at me for 11, and in his second main phase, recasts Golos, passing as he finds a land. I draw and play a Soul Ring. Adam at this point has found Field of the Dead, and I swing my team at him. He blocks 2 of my tokens, taking only 2. In my second main phase, I cast a Goblin Matron, revealing Palashik Mons and putting him to hand. I then cast the Legendary Goblin, and both it and the Matron get a +1/+1 counter from entering because of the Mimic, and I pass to Mads. Mads recasts Tatyova, and plays out a Wooded Foothills from his graveyard, gaining 1 life and drawing a card. He then sacrifices it to find a forest, losing 1 life but immediately gaining back as the forest comes in and drawing again. He then passes to Adam. Adam draws and plays an island. He gets a zombie token from the field seeing the land enter, and then taps 1 of each colors +2 for Golos' ability. He hits 2 lands and Decimate. Sadly, he has no legal target for enchantment, and since Decimate requires a target for all of them, he then just casts a Sakura Tribe Elder. The Void Winnower then goes at Mads, who blocks his Raminap, and Adam passes. I untap and draw, playing Mutavault as my land for turn. I swing the token and Matron at Adam, who blocks both with his tokens and the Elder. He sacrifices the Elder before damage to go and find a land. With the Matron dying, I get to deal 1 with Mons, and Adam replaces the zombie he lost once he finds a land from the Sakura Tribe Elder. Mads plays a Flooded Grove, gaining 1 life and drawing a card. He plays Manglehorn, which comes in and blows up Golos. He then just passes. Adam's turn is quick as he casts a Blatant Thievery, but Mads counters it with a Force of Will, exiling a card and losing 1. Adam then moves to cast a Farseek once that's done, and shortcuts to play a forest before searching. At the end of turn, I activate Palashik Mons' ability to sacrifice a goblin, and make 2 1/1 goblin tokens. They both come in with a +1/+1 counter. My turn has me casting a Siege Gang Commander, who enters and makes me 3 more goblin friends. They all get counters, and I then move to combat, swinging what I can at Adam, who blocks, and I have the Palashik Mons seeing the goblin's dying triggers deal 1 to Adam. Mads untaps and draws. He plays a tapped Temple of Mystery, scrying 1 and bottoming it, and then resolves Tatyova's trigger, drawing a card and gaining 1. He then plays a Wayward Swordtooth, which has the city's blessing criteria met, and he passes. At the end of turn, Adam activates the Grim Monolith to untap it. Adam plays a Scavenger Grounds as his land drop, and he makes a zombie token. He's able to cast a Kozilek the Great Distortion in his main phase, drawing until he's a total of 7 cards in hand as he casts it. After the draw resolves, but prior to the Eldrazi resolving, Mads casts a Ghostly Flicker, blinking 2 lands, 1 of which is a Temple of Mystery. He scries 1 again, keeping it on top. He then draws a card and gains 1 life twice, but sadly has no answer for it, and Kozilek then resolves. He then taps 8 mana for a Maelstrom Wanderer because honestly 1 giant threat just isn't enough. He gets to Cascade twice, hitting a Sin Prodder and then a Fauna Shaman. Moving to combat, because the Wanderer gives everything haste, he swings the Maelstrom Wanderer, Void Winnower, Sin Prodder, and Kozilek at Mads. Mads uses Pongify and targets the Void Winnower, which manages to resolve. Mads then double blocks the Sin Prodder, losing the Manglehorn, and takes a total of 19 from the unblocked creatures. Adam then passes. I draw, and tap 4 mana, casting a Bloodmark Mentor, which comes into play with a +1/+1 counter, and then a Dragon Fodder, making 2 more tokens, also who come in with counters. I finally cast Krenko, and I swing the Siege Gang Commander and tokens at Adam. He blocks in such a way to take out 1 of the tokens using the Frog Monkey thing that he got from Pongify, and lets 2 through, taking 4. With my token dying, I use the Pashless Mons trigger to deal 1 to Mads. Mads untaps her turn, and tapping his Soul Ring and 2 forests, leaving 1 colorless floating, casts Eternal Witness. It enters and returns to his hand his copy of Ghostly Flicker. He uses the floating mana and 2 lands to flicker the Witness and the land by casting the Flicker again. The land re-entering gains him 1 and draws him a card, while the Witness returns to hand his Ghostly Flicker once more. He then puts to stack Baral, but Adam is able to discard a card from hand with 2 CMC to counter it thanks to Kozilek. Mads then casts Ghostly Flicker once more, doing the same, gaining 1 life and drawing a card as he flickers the land, but instead of using the witness to return the ghostly flicker, brings back Pongify. He then casts a Scavenging Ooze and passes to Adam. Adam asks for a hand count, with Mads having 4 to my 1 card in hand. He then casts an Underworld Breach, which is just a super broken card, but you know what, I love it. He nicely reminds us what's in his graveyard as he's casting it, and Mads puts to stack a Pact of Negation to try and counter it. Adam is able to counter this counterspell by discarding a land from hand to use Kozilek's ability to counter it. Mads then takes 1 from the Waterlogged Grove to help pay for a Swan Song, and targets the breach once more. Adam doesn't have a 1-drop to counter it this time though, and the enchantment is then binned. He does gain a 2/2 Flying Bird though, which is a little consolation. Sword of Feast and Famine then hits the stack and resolves, and he equips it to Kozilek. Adam still has enough to recast his commander, doing so and grabbing a land. It comes in and makes him a zombie token from the Field of the Dead trigger. Heading to combat, Kozilek goes at Mads, and the Wanderer plus the newly made bird, which has haste because of Wanderer, go at me. I put 3 red creatures who have first strike thanks to Mentor in front of the Wanderer, and take 2 in the air. Mads then gets taken out because he can't block from the pro-green, and Adam then gets to untap all of his lands. In his second main phase, he activates Golos twice, because I would too if I had that kind of mana. He plays Zendikar Resurgent, and then resolves his second one. This has him putting to field Psychic Battle, and he passes to me. I untap and draw, knowing fully well I can't beat Adam's board state alone, and I give him the game. Game review time. So I probably could have stuck it out for a few more turns. With the Pashilika Mons out, I would have been able to deal at least some damage to Adam, but his massive Kozilek would have easily plowed through most of my creatures. For Mads' Tatyova deck, it certainly seemed to be a little bit less explosive than some of the other ones I saw, but he did say he kept a slow hand. I think with the Baral and the Ghostly Flicker he would have been able to do some pretty spicy things, but, as we saw, it wasn't meant to be. Jesper got knocked out very early in the game, and I kinda think it's rightly so. Running out a Blightsteel Colossus in the fashion and as quickly as he did tends to make a lot of enemies. He also made the mistake of attacking 2 different players and not finishing off either one of them. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/MTGMudsta. And lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/MTGMudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.